What is moral but illegal? Sleeping in your car when you're too drunk to drive. Also, sleeping in your car when you have no home. Why is it illegal? In the UK at least, it would be against the law as you are still classed as being in charge of a motor vehicle, even if the engine is off and you are in the back seat. Whether you would realistically get arrested convicted is another matter. Same in Canada. Technically, if you are hammered and have your car keys on your person you can be charged. Edit guys, quit asking me every goddamn spot you can keep car keys or vehicular sleeping scenarios. I'm not a cop or lawyer. Yup, my friend got charged few years ago, because he was sleeping in the driver's seat and he had the key fob in his pocket. So he got multiple tickets. I was always told to leave keys in the trunk and sleep in the back seat. I only ever had the guts to try it once, but the car was in a Walmart parking lot so I wasn't going to get in trouble anyway. Does Walmart allow people to sleep in their parking lots if they have cars? Usually. QuerySprout.com. Pirating content that has been abandoned and can't even be purchased anymore. For example, an out-of-print book, or a game that isn't sold anymore. Lots of old 60s performances are illegal to download, but Therese know where to buy it. Frown. I feel like Therese a ton of Jimi Hendrix footage but no way to legally hear it. We literally rely on the private collectors who own and hoard this stuff to release at some point, and hope that their collections don't burn down with all that history within it. Thanks, Universal. This happened with Doctor Who. The BBC destroyed tapes and insisted that other broadcasters do the same. We're still missing a bunch of episodes, but most we do have were private collectors. BBC taped over episodes, not destroy them on purpose. Still not as bad as NASA accidentally taping over a bunch of unique footage of the original moon landing. In Japan? Recycling someone's garbage without permission. Touching their garbage at all. You could use a discarded couch and save it from the garbage dump, but be arrested for it. Grabbing thrown out food from a grocery shop's dumpster. In my country they made that legal. So it doesn't go to waste. Edit. Yes, I live in Denmark. Yeah, here in Denmark it is legal as long as you are not breaking and entering, it isn't locked, etc. Paying for other people's parking meters. My favorite story about my dad involves this. My mother and father were doing coin laundry, and naturally had a lot of coins on them. Dad was on the street waiting for a cycle when a parking inspector walked past. As the inspector got out his pad and began to write a ticket, Dad put a coin in the meter. So the inspector walked to the next car, and Dad put a coin in that meter too. They both started walking faster, the inspector trying to check the meter and Dad feeding coins into each slot. It goes on like this until they're both running down the street in frantic competition. This was in Australia in the early 90s, late 80s. The Surfer's Paradise meter maids. To save you the inconvenience of a fine, our meter maid has inserted a coin in the meter. By courtesy of the Surfer's Paradise Progress Association. In many countries, speaking out against the malicious and corrupt actions of the government would certainly fall under the category of moral but illegal. Most recently Hong Kong, which claims to have global jurisdiction over what you say about it. I'm pretty sure in Thailand or Malaysia if you insult the king or the royal family online or earl can get you imprisoned for 30 days, so saying his daughter is a crazy slut and that his reach doesn't extend farther than his tiny dick basically ensure I have a one-way ticket to free housing and food in that country for 30 days lol. In Thailand you can also get imprisoned for ducking years if you go a little bit too far, so I really wouldn't recommend testing this out. Like, if you go to the cinema in Thailand, they play the royal anthem before the movie starts, and you damn well stand up for it. It doesn't matter that everyone knows the king is a cocaine-fueled party boy with a harem of beautiful women and men a third of his age, or that he holds billion-baht birthday parties for his ridiculous poodle, you all stand up anyway. Good thing is, people aren't standing anymore. As an American doctor who takes Medicare, I am not allowed to waive fees for procedures or charge a patient less than what our officially set rates are, even if they don't have insurance. I'm also not allowed to ask a doctor from a different practice what a certain insurance company pays them for a service, as this has been deemed antitrust. I'm also not allowed to ask a doctor from a different practice what a certain insurance company pays them for a service, as this has been deemed antitrust. WTF is the logic behind that? This is like the equivalent of don't talk to other employees about your salaries and wages. Edit. Yes, this is illegal, and so should all this bullshit from insurance companies that we have to put up with. Poor wording, illegal for employers to try and stop discussion, not for employees discussing. Also, never trust syndicates, they are the devil incarnate that want to take your job and money. Cafeteria workers at schools feeding children that don't have money. Edit. Oh geez, I totally realized by the comments this is not in fact illegal, in America. It could still get you fired depending on school policy and still a ducked up moral situation to have to be in. My school gives everyone free food. Yeah, because of the virus, the government gave all schools in my area money to make the lunches free. Pirating abandonware. I would happily pay for Pokemon Emerald as a digital version if it was a reasonable price so my son can play my childhood game. Right? Therese, rumors about Nintendo porting some old titles, but right now there are some ways. Not to mention that if someone were to hypothetically speaking of course have it available in other ways, there could be all manner of experience improving features like save states, fast changing game speed, and modding. Donating unused insulin to those in need. Medication in general. Once it's left the pharmacy it's no longer considered safe. Not even so much because of tampering, though people can be terrible and try to poison those they hate, but just storing things under the wrong conditions can render them useless to dangerous. Patients always seem surprised when I tell them everything they leave in the hospital gets thrown out. I'm not even allowed to take things out of a patient room once it goes in. Contaminated. I was in ICU with COVID. Everything went into the burn bin once it was used. Grabbing thrown out clothes from clothing stores, furniture, appliances, brand new stuff that just didn't sell or was out of season. Truly wasteful and probably a terrible. My mom used to drive behind strip malls with me as a kid and we'd find all sorts of good stuff. Pier 1 Imports used to have some good stuff, so did Burlington Coat Factory. Wow, I always thought the clothing would get damaged in some way to prevent this. I've seen videos of people just slashing t-shirts open before throwing them away. When I worked in a tea store that went bankrupt during COVID, we received instruction to throw everything away. Some stuff obviously was sent back, like mugs and loose leaf tea, to be sold on the online store. My manager was awesome and let us take everything else. I have years' worth of napkins, disposable cloths, tea sachets, and even a brand new kettle. Best manager I ever had. She just didn't see the point in throwing away perfectly good things. I worked at Best in the 90s when it went under. For those that don't know, everything was in a warehouse with a display out front, and you'd grab a ticket hash for anything you wanted. Our manager was told to destroy everything. It was a warehouse. We looted the store, like not just the employees, but their families, friends, the local charities, and then the general public was invited in to just take anything they wanted. This was in Great Falls, Montana, and there was no way corporate was sending a 100+ empty semi-trucks to empty the store. I know for a fact the manager cleaned out the entire jewelry section, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory in gold and diamonds, rings, bracelets, necklaces, ect. Pirating Adobe products. It's always morally correct. Photoshop is probably the main photo editing software because of piracy. Individuals learn how to use it when a pirated version, then they or a company pays even they go professional. In Germany, putting your empty beer bottle next to the trash can in cities instead of into the trash can. It's in principle littering, but it makes it so bottle collectors don't have to crawl through the trash. There is a deposit on the bottles. I think we should actually put up collect stations for font bottles for bottle collectors to go trough. Would be way more humane. In some states, feeding the homeless. Sleeping in your car when you're homeless, or sleeping anywhere that's not a hotel or your own bed for that matter in the United States. Seriously, how did we get so bad to make homelessness illegal? Also, it's illegal to be a whistleblower in this country. Look what happened to Snowden. My mom was technically homeless for a while. She was supposed to move out to the city with the rest of the family, but ended up stuck in her old town with nowhere to go due to issues with her job. She was sleeping in her place of business for a while. She owned the business, so you'd think that would be fine, but because she was only renting the building it turned out it wasn't. Some jerk told the building owner my mom was staying late at night to deal drugs, which is completely ridiculous, and the building owner told her she couldn't be there at night anymore. So then she had to sleep in her car where it was cold, uncomfortable, and a lot less safe. She wasn't allowed to park her car in the parking lot overnight, so she'd have to try to find somewhere else that would let her park. There weren't many places. She struggled to sleep. My mother had a warm, safe, private place available for her to sleep. She wasn't allowed. It would have been considered more acceptable for her to be sleeping on the sidewalk in the rain than it was for her to be anywhere else.